Back to Making Everyday Magic. My name is Shanna. If you are new here, we are a homeschooling family of 4. We're going into our 6th year of homeschooling, and it's pretty exciting. Today, I just wanted to pop in and share with you the importance of predefining success and concerns. Guys, before we go any further today, please scroll down, hit the big red subscribe button, turn on the bell for notifications, and give this video a thumbs up. As you can maybe hear, I'm a little drainage, nasally. Last week, everybody in my family, my husband had a cold, went to the doctor, tested negative for everything. The girls got sick. We assumed it was the same thing. They went in, they both had strep. Now I've been to the doctor, I have cold. So we have just been kind of really struggling for survival this last 10 days. There's been a lot of personal things and family things, and the AC went out. I mean, just a lot of things. And so the girls had their dance recital. We are recovering, really trying to get into summer. We're about halfway into June now. We've got a birthday coming up this week, big old 6-year-old birthday. And so we are really, really getting there. We're getting there. But because we are halfway through June, it is important. I need to start. I still haven't. I officially have all of our pieces. Everything is here. Everything is waiting on me to be ready to jump into planning. Now, I do fully intend to share all of the planning as we go, all of the things that I do to plan, all of that. Now, I've done this every year because I think it's important. I don't think enough people really show. They talk about planning. They don't really show literally what they are doing. And so that is my goal. But before I get into that, I think it's important to talk about the things, the factors that go into planning, that kind of start planning. So I'm going to talk to you in this video about kind of where I start with my my homeschool kind of energy. And then I will be having another video about just how to plan, literally what you need to plan, and then going from there. So this video is about predetermining what success looks like for you. So it can be really easy to come to places like YouTube and watch videos and go on the internet and see what other people think makes a successful homeschool, what other people feel like matters to them. If you have been homeschooling for any amount of time or parenting for any amount of time, then you know that kids don't get to the benchmarks at the same time. You know that, kids will crawl at different times, kids will walk at different times, and this doesn't have any kind of bearing on future success. If they suck their thumb into 2nd grade, that doesn't mean that they're not going to be able to be an astronaut when they're grown. I mean, it's, things just don't always matter, for lack of a better term, the way that sometimes you think they do when you're kind of stuck seeing the trees instead of the forest. So one of the things that both my husband and I try to continue to do, hang on, I'm gonna sneeze. We're gonna make it through this. One of the things that my husband and I both continue to try to do is we try to focus on what our goal is, what our big goal is. Now, obviously, in homeschooling, the education of your children is kind of a pretty important goal. Obviously, educating your children is a pretty important goal with your home education. But it can be really hard to kind of gauge what that is or how it's going, especially in the short term. So it is really important as you go into planning another year, or a lot of people are coming to homeschooling, guys. If you are planning to homeschool, I think it's important for you to decide what your benchmarks are. And those benchmarks are going to help you determine if you feel like you are finding success in your homeschool. But they're also going to help you determine if you are finding an area of concern in your homeschool. And I think it's very important with anything that you do in life to find kind of your sweet spot, right? Above here is grand, but the goal is to stay in this kind of measured area. And then below here, we've got, sirens and concerns. And so I don't think enough people take a minute, take a day, take some time to really determine what it is that they will feel like has been a mark of success, or that they feel like is a point at which they need to kind of call in some help. And I think by failing to do those things, it really can allow you to go further past a point than you would like to go. So I think something that we have done, and something that I think is an important thing for people to do, is to decide what is your goal. When my husband and I were starting to talk about homeschooling, and he had his reservations, one of the things that we talked about was that we would reevaluate every 6 months, every year. Sit down, have an honest conversation about what is or is not working. And you don't need to limit this to homeschooling, because it is quite possible you could go into this and say, yes, our homeschool life is working perfectly, but my mental health is suffering, or my personal job is suffering, or our home is suffering. That doesn't mean that homeschool as a whole is successful if it's not working for all of the aspects of your home. And I think it's important to keep measuring that along. That was one of my husband's concerns, was that how would I continue doing the things that I wanted to do professionally and personally if we tackled homeschooling? And so again, every 6 months, every year, we check in and we talk about this, and we discuss things that, if there are areas of concern. You guys know we recently hired housekeepers to come into our house when my husband went back to work. That's what needed to happen for us to find success, for myself to find a good mental health balance in our home and in our homeschool. It was the thing that I was willing to field out and give up on there. It wasn't, what I do professionally, and it wasn't homeschooling. So for me, that was where I was really willing to kind of field out the hard stuff that worked for us. And it kept our ships sailing smoothly and kept us on the right track. But I think it's really important to say, like, when we started homeschooling, for us, one of the reasons that I wanted to go into homeschooling is our oldest was kind of ahead of her peers, developmentally where she needed to be. And I wanted to keep her that way. So as we continue along this path, I know for myself, for my husband, for our family, if at any point she falls behind where her counterparts are, then that's a red flag for us, and maybe a sign that this isn't going in the direction that it should be going. I knew that she was ahead, and I wanted to have the freedom to keep her there. So if at any point we aren't there, then we really need to have a heart-to-heart conversation about what we're doing, and if we are maintaining the level at which we chose that we wanted to maintain our homeschool. So I think it's really important for people to sit down and predefine what equates success for you. Is it getting your child more one-on-one time? Is the need for your homeschool is one of those needs that your child isn't getting enough individualized attention in public school? Is it that they do need to go a little slower? What is it that you feel like is going to be that kind of litmus, that measure that says, yes, we are doing the right things for the right reasons? And then I think it's also really important for you to just kind of plant a flag that says, this is our point of no return, where we reach out, where we ask for help, where we do start looking at other things. Because I think if we don't predetermine kind of where those goalposts are on either end of the field, then once we get past them, it's easier to know when we've passed one, and when you can start kind of put on your extra wide scope and start saying, are we at the point where we need to look again, where we need to do something else? These are also things that can help you determine if a curriculum piece is or isn't working for you. If you know that you want your kid to have, math proficiency on unit exams, greater than 90%. But once you come to take that, every 4 or 5 chapter unit exam and they're testing at 70%, then maybe it's time to figure out what isn't working well. So that is really one of those things that I think does come into play with a mass education system, public school, standardized testing, things like that, is that they know what the parameters are. And I'm not saying that your parameters are going to be absolutely different from every other place, every other homeschool, every other everything. But I think determining for you what your needs, your concerns are in your homeschool ahead of time is gonna give you those parameters. And it's important to have them because you can't just sail blindly without a map forever. You need to know what is keeping you kind of in the lanes of acceptable here. So you need to figure that out for yourself. But I don't think enough people ever really stop and say, okay, this is my measure. This is my comfort zone. Either way, we need to start talking about something else. So be sure that you're doing that for your homeschool. It's really important. I think it's an important kind of step in your planning and your processings and things like that. So guys, I hope that makes, I feel a little rambly. It's really hard sometimes to articulate what we do and the thoughts that we've come to just kind of inherently do in our home and in our marriage and our partnership and parenting. It's sometimes very hard for me to try to articulate that in a manner that makes sense, but I hope that the grain that I'm trying to give to you, that little bit of wisdom is coming through. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, write on down to the comments or over on Instagram at Making Everyday Magic. Guys, I hope that you found any of this helpful, entertaining, or informative. If you did, please scroll down, hit the big red subscribe button, turn on the bell for notifications, and give this video a thumbs up. Like I said, there's a lot more planning coming. So be ready, get your stuff. I think the next video, because I'm probably gonna stand right here in the same spot and film it, is gonna be about the things that you need kind of ahead of time to get planning, to get going. So guys, let us know, what are your limits? Like for me, I wanted to keep them ahead of where they were. And another benchmark that tells me that we're kind of on the right spot is like, they can read now. Like that, for me, teaching people to read, first of all, but then getting them to read and enjoy reading, that's a really big kind of mark for myself in our home, because my husband and I both really like reading. So that was a big deal for us. Like that to me is like a little like, yay, gold star in our homeschool, because it's really valuable to us as people. And so it's kind of a big thing that for us was like just a big check mark. Like we might not be messing this up terribly. We might not be. I know you guys can feel me on that.